President Trump, in a move that sent shockwaves through North American markets, slapped a 25% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico and Canada. This aggressive action, effective March 4, 2025, marked a significant escalation in trade tensions between the United States and its North American neighbors. The tariffs, announced with little warning, targeted a broad range of products, from automobiles to agricultural goods. This decision immediately drew criticism from business leaders and economists, who warned of potential price hikes for consumers and disruptions to integrated supply chains. The stock market reacted swiftly, with major indices tumbling on news of the tariffs. Many analysts saw this as a dangerous gamble that could backfire, potentially harming the very American workers the president aimed to protect. The Trump administration defended the move, arguing that it was necessary to address what they called unfair trade practices by Mexico and Canada. They also cited concerns about illegal immigration and drug trafficking, claiming these tariffs would pressure their neighbors to do more to address these issues. Critics, however, argued that these concerns were overblown and that the tariffs were primarily a tool to force concessions on trade. The initial response from Mexico City and Ottawa was one of disappointment and defiance. Both countries vowed to retaliate with tariffs of their own, targeting key American exports. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum called the tariffs unacceptable and announced immediate retaliatory measures aimed at American agricultural products. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau echoed these sentiments, calling the tariffs unjustified and promising a firm response. Just 2 days after the initial shock, President Trump offered a partial reprieve. He announced that he would be lifting the tariffs on Mexico and Canada, citing progress in negotiations over fentanyl trafficking. This sudden reversal, while welcomed by businesses and investors, came with a significant caveat. The relief was temporary, set to expire on April 2, 2025. The president, in his characteristically blunt style, denied that the market downturn had influenced his decision. He instead attributed any negative market movements to actions by foreign countries and what he called globalist companies. This explanation, however, did little to quell the uncertainty surrounding the future of North American trade relations. The temporary nature of the relief left many wondering if this was merely a pause in a larger trade conflict. Analysts pointed out that the underlying issues, particularly regarding trade imbalances and border security, remained unresolved. The looming deadline of April 2nd cast a shadow over any potential celebrations, creating an atmosphere of cautious optimism at best. This back and forth left many observers questioning the administration's strategy. Some saw it as a sign of the president's negotiating style, using tariffs as leverage to extract concessions. Others, however, viewed it as impulsive and unpredictable, creating unnecessary volatility in the markets and undermining confidence in the long-term stability of the North American trade relationship. While the broader tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods grabbed headlines, another trade battle simmered in the background. The Trump administration announced separate tariffs targeting steel and aluminum imports, set to take effect on March 12, 2025. These tariffs, unlike the broader measures, were not subject to the temporary relief and remained a point of contention. The steel and aluminum tariffs, while presented as a separate issue, added another layer of complexity to the already strained trade relationship. The administration argued that these tariffs were necessary to protect American jobs and industries deemed vital to national security. However, critics argued that they would ultimately harm American manufacturers who rely on imported metals, leading to higher prices and job losses. These tariffs, while impactful, received less attention than the broader tariffs on Mexico and Canada. This was partly due to their more targeted nature and partly because they were overshadowed by the dramatic back and forth over the broader tariffs. However, they represented another front in the ongoing trade war, with the potential to inflict significant economic damage if not resolved. The reactions from Canada and Mexico were swift and sharp. Both countries condemned the tariffs as unjustified protectionism and vowed to retaliate with tariffs of their own on American goods. The Canadian government announced retaliatory tariffs on American steel, aluminum and other products, while Mexico targeted American agricultural products and other key exports. President Trump's decision to impose, then partially lift tariffs on Mexico and Canada has left many questioning his overall trade strategy. Supporters argue that his aggressive tactics are necessary to protect American interests, and that his willingness to use tariffs as leverage has yielded results such as the recent progress on fentanyl trafficking. They point to the temporary lifting of tariffs as evidence that his approach can be effective in achieving specific policy goals. However, critics argue that his approach is unpredictable and counterproductive, creating uncertainty in the markets and damaging relationships with key allies. They point to the economic harm caused by the tariffs and the retaliatory measures taken by Canada and Mexico as evidence of the negative consequences of his actions. They argue that his focus on tariffs as a primary negotiating tool undermines the potential for mutually beneficial trade agreements and risks triggering a full-blown trade war. The president's conversations with key players, including the leaders of Mexico and Canada, as well as the heads of major American automakers, highlight the high stakes involved. These conversations, by all accounts, were tense and frank, reflecting the seriousness of the situation. While some progress was made, particularly on the issue of fentanyl trafficking, the underlying trade tensions remain unresolved. The economic and political fallout from this tariff tango is still unfolding. The temporary relief has provided some breathing room, but the looming deadline of April 2nd hangs over the heads of negotiators. Whether this period of relative calm will lead to a lasting resolution, or merely a brief intermission in a larger trade war, remains to be seen. The world is watching closely, as the outcome of this high-stakes game of economic chicken will have far-reaching consequences for the global economy.